Have you ever wondered if shapes have sounds? Imagine two shapes. One is sharp and spiky, while the other is soft and round. Now, which one is Kiki and which one is Booba? Fascinatingly, most people will say the spiky shape is Kiki and the round shape is Booba. Why is this? Our brains have an intriguing tendency to associate sharp sounds with sharp shapes and soft, flowing sounds with round shapes. This phenomenon is known as the Kiki-Booba effect. It reflects a universal cognitive bias, where human perception aligns sounds with visual forms in a surprisingly consistent manner. So next time you encounter a new word or shape, consider this playful trick your brain is performing, a remarkable testament to the interconnectedness of our senses. Did you know that Cleopatra, Egypt's most enigmatic ruler, could speak 9 languages fluently, yet never bothered to learn Egyptian? While seducing two of Rome's most powerful men and commanding vast armies, this linguistic prodigy communicated with foreign diplomats without translators, yet spoke to her own subjects through interpreters. She was the first in her entire Ptolemaic dynasty, after nearly 300 years of ruling Egypt, to bother learning Egyptian at all. This brilliant, calculating queen could whisper secrets directly into the ears of Ethiopians, Hebrews, Arabs, Syrians, Medes, and Romans, wielding language as strategically as she wielded power, all while her ancestors had governed an empire through translators for centuries. What would make the world's richest military deliberately drive thousands of brand new jeeps, bulldozers, and weapons into the Pacific Ocean? After Webster II, on tropical Espiritu Santo, when British and French allies refused America's generous discount, betting they could get everything free after US withdrawal, American officers chose destruction over diplomacy. For days, soldiers systematically pushed millions in pristine military equipment into crystalline waters while horrified islanders watched, culminating when bulldozer operators shifted into high gear and plunged their own machines into the abyss. Today, divers explore this underwater graveyard of American spite, million-dollar point, where perfectly good equipment rusts in silent testimony to a forgotten standoff where absolutely everyone lost. One betrayal changed India forever. On June 23rd, 1757, the Battle of Plassey wasn't just a fight. It was a setup. British forces, led by Robert Clive, faced Siraj-ud-Dowlah, the Nawab of Bengal. But in secret, Mir Jafar, Siraj's trusted commander, had already sold him out for promises of power and wealth. The Nawab's army collapsed from within. The battle was over before it even truly began. With betrayal at the heart of it all, the British East India Company seized Bengal, India's wealthiest prize, unlocking unimaginable riches and influence. This victory didn't just win land. It opened the door to a brutal, 200-year-long colonial empire. One battle, one traitor, and the fate of a nation was sealed forever. Gunfire crackled, blades flashed, and there he stood, Arthur Wellesley, the future Duke of Wellington, carving his legend across continents. He outwitted Tipu Sultan in the furnace of Mysore, hunted the elusive Pashasi Raja through the deadly jungles, and finally shattered Napoleon's dreams at Waterloo as the world held its breath. Some say he could predict an enemy's move before they made it. Others whisper he once fought with a shattered sword and still drove his enemies back. He moved armies like pieces on a chessboard, every decision a gamble with fate. This wasn't just war. It was survival on the razor's edge. Welcome to the blood-pounding life of the Iron Duke. The halo effect shows how our overall impression of someone colors our judgment of their specific traits. In ancient Greece, Alexander the Great perfectly demonstrates this bias. His military genius and empire building created such a powerful positive impression that history often overlooks his darker side. his brutal campaigns, violent temper, and even the murder of his friend Clytus in a drunken rage. The halo of Alexander's charisma and achievements continues to soften our view of his flaws, proving that when we admire someone, we tend to see everything about them in a more favorable light. What if I told you there was an Olympic athlete who also won a Nobel Peace Prize? Sounds impossible, right? But it's true. Meet Philip Noel Baker. In 1920, he competed for Great Britain in the 1500 meters and won a silver medal. That alone would be a lifetime achievement for most. But Noel Baker didn't stop there. He went on to help draft the United Nations Charter, became a passionate advocate for nuclear disarmament, and in 1950 he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. He remains the only person in history to be both an Olympic medalist and a Nobel laureate. He ran for glory, and then he ran for peace. Ever tasted chicken so spicy it feels like a venomous strike? Meet snakebite chicken, the street food sensation taking taste buds by storm. This fiery dish combines crispy fried chicken with a potent blend of Sichuan peppercorns and Thai bird's eye chilies that create a unique numbing sensation in your mouth. The effect actually mimics a snake's neurotoxic venom, a pleasant paralysis that's strangely addictive. What makes it unforgettable is the perfect balance: crunchy exterior, juicy meat, and waves of heat that build gradually. The numbing spices create a sensory experience where each bite feels different from the last. Served in paper cones with cooling cucumber slices, it's the ultimate street food thrill. Would you dare to try the chicken that bites back? Worth billions, yet impossible to steal. Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper isn't on canvas. It's painted directly onto a wall in Milan. Why create something that can't be moved? This revolutionary experiment began deteriorating in da Vinci's own lifetime, with only 20% of original paint remaining today. A ghost of its former glory, this fading masterpiece survived wars and bombings to become history's most valuable wall. The ultimate irony. The world's most studied painting captures the exact moment of betrayal, its secrets permanently locked in crumbling plaster. Like and subscribe for more hidden art mysteries. When the Khwarezmian Shah executed Genghis Khan's merchants and humiliated his ambassadors in 1218, he unleashed history's most calculated revenge. Genghis didn't just attack, he systematically dismantled an entire empire. His armies struck from multiple directions, showing mercy to cities that surrendered while completely destroying those that resisted. As the Shah fled, Genghis sent elite hunters to pursue him to his death on a remote island. In just 2 years, a mighty civilization was erased. Millions died, and fertile lands were deliberately returned to desert. The message? Betray Genghis Khan, and your entire world pays the price. Historians believe this campaign triggered the largest population decline in human history until that point. When asked why such extreme measures were necessary, Genghis allegedly responded, "I am the punishment of God. Like and subscribe." Did you know that Cleopatra, Egypt's most enigmatic ruler, could speak 9 languages fluently, yet never bothered to learn Egyptian? While seducing 2 of Rome's most powerful men and commanding vast armies, this linguistic prodigy communicated with foreign diplomats without translators, yet spoke to her own subjects through interpreters. She was the first in her entire Ptolemaic dynasty, after nearly 300 years of ruling Egypt, to bother learning Egyptian at all. This brilliant, calculating queen could whisper secrets directly into the ears of Ethiopians, Hebrews, Arabs, Syrians, Medes, and Romans, wielding language as strategically as she wielded power. All while her ancestors had governed an empire through translators for centuries. You know Kobe Bryant as an NBA legend, but did you know he's the only person to ever win both an Olympic gold medal and an Oscar? He led Team USA to gold in 2008 and 2012, dominating on the court with that unstoppable Mamba mentality. But after basketball, he shifted his focus to storytelling. And in 2018, he won an Academy Award for his animated short, Dear Basketball. From Olympic champion to Oscar winner, Kobe didn't just master the game, he mastered the art of legacy. Down syndrome wasn't named for a limitation. It was named for a man who dared to see people when the world refused to look. In 1866, Dr. John Langdon Down broke every rule. He banned cruel punishments. He encouraged painting, music, and joy. He gave his patients something radical: dignity. At a time when most were cast aside, he created Normansfield, a sanctuary with horse riding, theatre, and personalized education. A place where people weren't just cared for, but celebrated. He didn't just change lives, he changed the lens through which we see them. Today, the Langdon Down Centre still stands, a quiet monument to a powerful truth. The greatest breakthrough in medicine might be empathy. Every life is worthy. Every story matters. Subscribe for more untold stories that challenge what you thought you knew. Ever wonder why horoscopes or personality quizzes feel so spot on? That's the Forer effect in action. It's a mind trick where vague general statements like you have hidden potential or you sometimes feel unsure feel deeply personal. Why? Because our brains love to see ourselves in positive, broad descriptions, even if they could apply to almost anyone. Fortune tellers and psychics use this all the time. So next time something feels like it totally gets you, ask yourself, is it really about you or just a clever trick? Mind-blowing, right? Here's a weird rule you probably didn't know. In the game of polo, you can only play using your right hand. Lefties? Sorry, not allowed. It's not just tradition, it's safety. Since everyone rides counterclockwise and swings on the same side, a left-handed player would swing into oncoming traffic. That's a horse-powered collision waiting to happen. So even if you're a lefty legend, in polo, you gotta go right or go home. The ancient Greeks had a darker side your textbooks never mentioned. Athletes competed completely naked, covered in oil, and afterward sold their sweat as medicine. People would pay to rub athletes' sweat on their skin, believing it cured ailments and eased pain. When nature called, they didn't use toilet paper, they used stones. The wealthy might use a sea sponge on a stick, but most Greeks scraped by with whatever smooth rocks they could find. And their treatment of slaves? Owners forced metal rings onto slaves' bodies, primitive chastity belts that caused pain if they became aroused. This was the real ancient Greece. Not just philosophy and democracy, but a civilization with practices that would horrify us today. History isn't always beautiful. Sometimes it's written in blood and stone.
When you think of the Pope, grand ceremonies and ancient traditions likely come to mind. But the reality of being the Holy Father is full of surprising facts. First off, there's no official age requirement to become Pope. Pope John XII was just 18, while Pope Clement X took the papacy at nearly 80. The Pope also has to be multilingual, fluent in Latin and Italian, since he's also the Bishop of Rome. Surprisingly, even the Pope goes to confession, with figures like John Paul II and Benedict XVI attending weekly, more often than many Catholics. Beyond his spiritual role, the Pope is also the head of his own country, Vatican City, a sovereign state with about 900 residents. He even has his own hospital, where Vatican employees pay just 2% of their salary for healthcare. Despite his position, the Pope owns nothing personally. Everything is provided by the Church. While it's nearly impossible for a modern pope to be as controversial as some historical figures like Benedict IX or Alexander VI, he remains one of the world's most powerful individuals. In 2012, Pope Benedict XVI ranked 5th on Forbes' list of most powerful people. The Pope's influence extends to the digital world, with the @Pontifex Twitter account gaining over 1 million followers in its first week. However, the Vatican faces budget problems too, reporting a $19 million deficit in 2011, largely due to media outreach efforts and maintaining historic properties. The Vatican Bank helps finance the Church's global mission and reports directly to the Pope, managing approximately $5.4 billion in assets. An interesting tradition surrounding a pope's death involves the phrase, "There's nothing so dead as a dead pope." Historically, the Church confirmed a pope's death with a silver hammer tap, calling his name 3 times, though this method has been simplified recently. It's important to remember that papal infallibility applies only to official decrees on faith and morals, not daily actions or personal opinions of the Pope. Pope Francis, before his passing on April 21, 2025, dedicated the 2025 Jubilee year to hope, leaving behind a legacy of mercy and a desire for a more inclusive church.
Gunfire crackled, blades flashed, and there he stood, Arthur Wellesley, the future Duke of Wellington, carving his legend across continents. He outwitted Tipu Sultan in the furnace of Mysore, hunted the elusive Pashasi Raja through the deadly jungles, and finally shattered Napoleon's dreams at Waterloo as the world held its breath. Some say he could predict an enemy's move before they made it. Others whisper he once fought with a shattered sword and still drove his enemies back. He moved armies like pieces on a chessboard, every decision a gamble with fate. This wasn't just war, it was survival on the razor's edge. Welcome to the blood-pounding life of the Iron Duke. One betrayal changed India forever. On June 23rd, 1757, the Battle of Plassey wasn't just a fight. It was a setup. British forces, led by Robert Clive, faced Siraj-ud-Dowlah, the Nawab of Bengal. But in secret, Mir Jafar, Siraj's trusted commander, had already sold him out for promises of power and wealth. The Nawab's army collapsed from within. The battle was over before it even truly began. With betrayal at the heart of it all, the British East India Company seized Bengal, India's wealthiest prize, unlocking unimaginable riches and influence. This victory didn't just win land. It opened the door to a brutal 200-year-long colonial empire. One battle, one traitor, and the fate of a nation was sealed forever.